Hey there everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to surviving 100 days in hardcore mode in ARK Aberration. We've done a couple of videos doing this kind of challenge before on the island and Scorched Earth, and now naturally it's time to try and take on Aberration, arguably the toughest one that I've came across so far, at least in my experience. And as you can see, immediately as soon as we spawn in, there are some raptors messing with some stegos, and I decided to take a pretty wise, in my opinion, decision to step off to the side and let them fight amongst themselves. If nothing else, them raptors would kill me immediately. Nice bit of early hide because I knew the stegos could take care of it, and obviously the stegos won't aggro with me. So yeah, this was a nice way to start the game, immediately showing me how hostile this environment was going to be. Now, speaking of starting the game, it's important to show you the settings that we're going to be using. As always, difficulty 5 and hardcore mode is enabled, as you can see through the settings there. And yeah, I'm hoping that this video is going to be a fun one for you, because it was definitely a challenging one for me to get recorded. So as I say, straight into that early game hide, a bit of meat as well. And essentially my plan for the first couple of days, as always, is to try and get a few levels, get established in the world, and then try and take on some more challenges. The first thing we did was get ourselves a bulldog, so we have a bit of light. And then yeah, just went around and looked for some explorer notes. Came across one pretty early on, right near the start here, so I could get some good early levels. And then again, the plan was to just try and craft a bunch of narcotics, that sort of thing, and just kind of get really established in the world so that we can go ahead and try and get ourselves a raptor or a ravager or something along those lines. But as we're going through this early stuff, I figured I may as well tell you, it's been a while, as you know, since the last video has been posted. It's been about 7 months. I can only apologise for that. A lot's happened in my life in the last 7 months. I didn't have anywhere to record. I've moved house twice since then. So yeah, hopefully going forward things will be a lot simpler, and I've got a lot of cool videos lined up for you that I'm hoping you're going to enjoy. And yeah, day 1 is pretty much complete. I really enjoyed day 1. It was very challenging, so let's see how we get on in day 2. After getting some good early levels in day 1, it was time to move on and try and get ourselves more shops, because I figured that would be the best way to gather some berries early on and get many narcotics made and all that kind of thing, which of course is going to give me a good level boost. I came across this really low level one, just wanted some tinto berries, so I went ahead and gave it tinto berries. So now we can go ahead and get berries ourselves way easier. So yeah, that's pretty much what I spent most of the day happening, until I came across a pack of raptors that were very, very interested in trying to kill me. So I, as you can see, threw a few bowlers at them. My bowler aim isn't great. It gets better throughout the video, I hope. And yeah, there was a few. There was one in particular I was after. It was the level 85. But I figured I may as well try and take out the early ones. And as per a suggestion in the previous video, someone asked me to turn on the damage numbers. I wrote a reply to them in that comment saying I would. And yeah, I think it helps showing what kind of damage we're doing to people. And yeah, this one was quite a challenge. The raptors, once I eventually cleared them out, the 85 came back, got it bowlered, and then set about trying to tame it, because thankfully now we do have trank arrows. Knocked it out, fed it some meat, and then essentially took on the rest of them as well, just to see if I could take out this other one. And yeah, we got ourselves some nice early game raptors, bit of hide from these guys, and then the level 85 is going to be the one that we actually want to keep. So yeah, basically waited around for level 85 to tame, and now we finally got our first mount of the video. Level 124 too, pretty happy with that. Now on day 3 we still don't have a base all set up, and that is because I don't want to live in this area. There's not a whole lot here for me to do, so I just wanted to set up a little node so I could get some metal tools made from the metal that we've gathered from taking out some tech raptors and things like that. So this is going to be a permanent spot for us. We are going to be moving on pretty soon. I then went and found another explorer note. I can't for the life of me figure out why I didn't just walk through it on the raptor, because I believe we would have both got the XP, but I guess that just proves that I'm not the most knowledgeable ARK player in the world. But after that, it was back to gathering narcotics, this time a lot quicker with the Mohr shops as to when I did it previously by hand, and just trying to get as many narcotics and things made as possible so we can get those good early level ups. As you can see, by day 2 we were already level 23. I was pretty happy with that progress, but I want to be a lot higher as soon as possible. After all those levels that we got through the explorer note, by day 4 it was time to take on a Dodicarus. I'd made myself a crossbow and just kind of led this guy around. As I say, this isn't going to be a base area for me, so I didn't bother putting any traps down or anything like that. Just kind of led it around and had the raptor follow me in case there was any problems. Once it started running, I was eventually able to take her down with the crossbow, and I spent most of the rest of the day just basically hanging around waiting for her to take the berries that I'd fed her so we could get it all tamed up. And on day 5 we found another explorer note, so guess what we were doing? Back to berries. I like to try and be as prepared as I can early game, and this will get me a lot of XP. Day 6, me and the raptor mostly just followed around roll rats looking for red gems. Now these guys do eventually drop them, but once you pick them up it started getting aggro with me, so I had to deal with it. And then once I got rid of that, I followed another one, essentially looking for more red gems, because I need these in be able to make the contraption that you can use to gather gas balls, which eventually I will need for some materials going forward. Day 7 I'm calling the first of many absolute major errors that I made during this playthrough, and you'll see why in a moment. I made myself a long neck rifle, killed one of the raptors, and then immediately got pounced by the other ones. Completely forgot how I get my raptor to attack the other ones, and then just kind of stood and panicked for a little bit, shot a few bullets that didn't really do anything. Eventually I was able to get back on my raptor and deal with those raptors that were attacking me, but yeah, not my finest moment in ARK Aberration. My inexperience continued into day 8 as I was attempting to tame a level 100 Ravager. Managed to bowler it eventually and actually remembered to call off my raptor this time so I wouldn't just fight it. And then my next plan was to set up these gates, which I'd seen a lot of people use in their videos, but for some reason I've never tried using them, and I think the reason will become pretty evident any moment now. It's because I, like this trap itself, am very simple. And yeah, it didn't work exactly as I'd hoped. At this point I thought, okay, it looks like he's trapped in there. Maybe I'll just try and take a few shots at him. But look at the size of that gap. He's going to be able to walk out of there eventually. So I thought I'll try and bowler him. I guess they're immune to bowlers not long after they've just been bowlered. I'm not 100% how that works. People can probably explain that to me. So I thought at this point, screw it. I'll just keep shooting at it. And hopefully we can switch to a bowler or something if it manages to get out. Which it did. Luckily for me though, it was running away. So I thought maybe I can just get a few shots in it and try and bowler it on the way back. Because at this point I was thinking, okay, I've got the upper hand. But as always with this game, I never have the upper hand. And it wasn't long before he managed to bite me a few more times. Luckily though, the damage that it did wasn't a great big deal. Obviously the blood is a bit distracting. But I thought, you know what, let's just get him bowlered and let's just keep shooting trank arrows. And then hopefully this guy eventually will pass out. It's level 100, it's the highest tame we'll have had so far. So yeah, this is pretty much how the rest of my day 8 went. Shooting arrows into this guy until eventually he decided that it was enough and he wanted to be a part of the team. So then I just sat here and waited for him to tame up. Not a whole lot to show you from day 9. I took the Ravager out, however I did finally come across my very first ever level 150 in this playthrough, and I spent a bit of time taming him up because I wanted to have a top level bulldog to sit on my shoulder, and I'm very happy with this tame. So if you're familiar with my start of play by now, day 10 is usually when I give the guys names. I'm always worried about getting too attached to them and then they're dying. So if they survive by day 10, they get a name. Everyone's named up today, and two particular highlights for me are 30 Watt for our old bulldog, Muttley for the Ravager, and Sparky for our level 150 bulldog that we got. After that, I was off to try and get ourselves some polymer because I would like to make some cryopods, because I'm thinking it's about time we move. And this is probably the third mistake that I've made so far, at least third big mistake. I've made many mistakes, but this is the third big one. I tried attacking this thing and eventually the Carcanos just pulled me off the Ravager. At this point you can see my health is already starting to drop, so I'm trying to get as many shots as I can. Apologies if this is making anyone a bit motion sick. I know I didn't particularly enjoy it myself at the time, but yeah, eventually we did manage to deal with it. The Ravager took care of it, and as you can see my health got really low then, so we got pretty lucky. That could have been end of it on day 10. At this point I was 10 hours into the recording. Wouldn't have been too big of a deal, but I still wouldn't have been too happy to have to start over again. Next thing, it was off to find a loot crate, and thankfully there was some that weren't too far away to get ourselves some cryopods made so that I could start taking the team a bit easier off to where I'm hoping to be our main base destination. So yeah, once those were made, it was time to head back home, pack up all of our stuff, and get ready for the move. I also made one of these gas collectors, which is what I needed the red gems for, so that we can get our gas collected ready to make some other stuff. And there's a spot that I'm going to that I know there is a gas node there. So yeah, that's the plan, and then get ourselves a wingsuit made, just so we can escape if necessary a bit easier. On day 11, we had completed our move over to our new area, and we've made ourselves the gas collector, as you saw. For this particular spot in the corner over there, we are going to put this on this little gas node, which is going to be right next to our base, so that we can continue collect gas balls like the ones that you see on the floor there. ready to use that to make stuff going forward. And this particular base, it's not going to take too long to build. We've got the Doedicurus, and it's only going to be small. And of course, if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that at this point I'm essentially, it's probably bordering on a bit of an obsession with Aaron Longstaff. I hope he takes it as a compliment if he ever comes across any of this stuff. I think his builds are fantastic. And this is another one of his builds. I've just slightly changed it just to basically made it all stone. And the link to his build, of course, will be in the description. It's a house we've built before, but I figured for where we are, it's kind of perfect. It's got everything that I need. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Now we can get ready and get everything moved in. And finally, on day 11, we have a house to live in. Day 12 started out pretty much how every day starts out for me. I head out and gather some materials. Now, this time it was gathering some blue gems. I'm going to be needing those for some of the things we're going to be crafting in the future. And this was the first patch of blue gems that I came across. So I decided to harvest as many as we could. While we were here, though, I came across something that I really wanted to tame, which was a level 130 female Ankylosaurus. Now, we're going to be needing an Anky to get as much metal as possible, and a level 130 was the highest level of anything I'd came across so far. So I figured, you know what, we're going to add her to the team. And instead of doing it like I did with the Doedicurus and having it chase me around, I figured this time let's be a bit smarter. We'll put the Anky into a little trap, and then we can have her follow us in after I've shot it a couple of times, and then just make the whole day a little bit safer, try and be a bit calmer than we were with the Doedicurus, because that one was running around for quite a while, and this seemed like a smarter plan to me. Everything so far has been going absolutely great on this day. It's been a nice chill day, and I'm very happy with the progress we've made, and it was just a case of simply shooting it and jumping over the trap with the Ravager. Eventually the Anky would fall into the trap, and then we've got a nice safe tame, ready to take some shots with our trank darts, and then just knock it out and move on with our day. This was the easy part of day 12, getting into the trap. However, you may hear some commotion in the background in a moment. I realised something was happening, and the Ravager was involved in a bit of a fight. Turns out one of these Arthropluras had snuck up on us, and these things are pretty lethal. Somehow in the midst of it all, the Anky did get knocked out though, so I was pretty happy with that. But now I was on high alert for enemies, because this area wasn't as safe as I thought. That's when I spotted another Arthroplura, and I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and take care of that one as well, just in case it manages to catch me. Now here is where my main problems began. Unbeknownst to me, the Arthroplura wasn't the only enemy here. Something snuck up on me, snatched me off the Ravager, and had my Ravager in its mouth. I was terrified, so I ran. I wish I didn't leave Muttley behind, but I figured it would be okay once the dinosaur, whatever the hell it was, had put it down. Didn't look like it was going to put it down, and it was doing a lot of damage, as you can see there. 100 hits, points per hit, and it was absolutely destroying my Ravager. I managed to take out the Arthroplura, and I was a little nervous about going a bit closer, trying to help out Muttley. I got in as few shots as I could just to try and help him out, but unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. This guy was pretty brutal, and you can see he's only a level 5. Aberrant Megalosaurus. That's my first experience with a Megalosaurus. I'd never came across one before, and my god, I never really want to deal with those guys again if I can help it. They're going to be great for taming stuff later on for boss fights and things like that, but oh my god, that was a level 5 and it killed Muttley, who was a level 100. Never want to be in that situation again. So I hung back, waited for the Anky to tame, and we got all of our stuff and got out of here as fast as we possibly could. Day 12, rest in peace Muttley, you will be missed. On day 13, me and the tribe paid our tribute to Muttley. We put the gravestone down at the base, and then after that I just kind of needed a day where I didn't have to be chased by terrifying creatures. So I decided to take the Anky over to the other side of the little river here, because there was a good bit of metal, and I figured now is a good time as any just to try and get some metal made, and just to try and kind of calm things down a little bit, because the day before was absolute chaos. So yeah, that's pretty much what most of day 13 was for, although the only other thing we did was there's also a loot drop not too far from where our base is. It's actually just up the ridge here, and I popped along on the Raptor and managed to get ourselves a half decent ghillie piece. So it's a Mastercraft ghillie piece chest piece, so you know what, that's the best bit of armor we've got so far. So you know, day 13 was a nice little reset day, and yeah, day 14 we'll be heading back out into the world to see what it waits for us. On day 14 though, we were out looking for another Ravager to add to the team, and we did find some Ravagers, 4 of them. And then I realised just how much trouble I was in. Me and Roxanne were out here trying to just get ourselves another member of the team, and yeah, once these guys actually bit me, After that, it was pretty much just complete carnage. I tried my best. I tried in vain to save Roxanne. You can see here there's many things I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get up high. I'm trying to run away. I'm just trying to jump in general just to escape from them. At this point, I thought maybe I could pull it off because I managed to get knocked down the hill, and I thought maybe they won't follow me if I do a quick turn around. As you can see though, there's nothing quick about you when you've been bitten by a Ravager, and unfortunately it seemed almost inevitable at this point that it was going to be game over for Roxanne. I did try my best, but we were just simply outnumbered. Thankfully, a little bit of quick thinking from me finally. I managed to jump and activate the wingsuit. Unfortunately, Roxanne didn't make it and was killed by a level 100 Ravager, which is what I was out here looking for, ironically. And yeah, we managed to survive only just. But we are now on day 14. We've lost 2 of our team. Sorry, Roxanne. I should have done better for you, but I just couldn't save you. But we did need to get back home, and this is a dangerous spot to be in. We came across a level 120 Raptor, and I figured, you know what, maybe you are the one that can get me back home. So I took out the rest of the creatures that were hanging around, mostly this snake, and dealt with it so I could get some prime meat, and then from that I would use to tame the Raptor once I could actually get down there and deal with it. So once I made my way down, I just needed to get the Raptor's attention, which as we all know isn't very difficult. As soon as they spot you, they charge. And once that had happened, I could knock it out after hitting it with a bowler and get this girl tamed up and get her ready to head back to our base. Once I'd made the Raptor saddle, it was a case of just waiting for it to tame up. I figured I may as well use the meat from the Titan boa and some other meat that I had kicking around to try and get this thing tamed a bit faster. I managed to get some more prime meat, but didn't end up needing it. And yeah, we now have ourselves another Raptor. Roxanne didn't make it home. The guys are going to be confused when we get back there because you were definitely not Roxanne. You're a higher level, but yeah, today was an interesting day. After that, it was time to head back home and get myself a hazard suit, or at least the most parts of the hazard suit. Still need a few of the pieces of crystal, but this is what I've been collecting the gas for. And now look at us. We look way more prepared in the middle of this earthquake. On day 15, we paid our respects to Roxanne and placed the gravestone next to Muttley. And after that, I decided, you know what, as much as I love Ravagers, as much as I love Raptors, they're not just going to cut it in this crazy world. We need something a bit bigger. So I went online and I found a tutorial from a person whose videos I've used quite often in the past, Captain Fat Dog. The link to the particular trap I've used here is in the description. And as you can see, we are attempting to get ourselves a Spino. Now, this trap seemed almost too simple, but when I set it up, you know what? It absolutely works. I would never have thought, if I was trying to design this thing myself, that that would have been the way to trap a Spino, which is why people like Captain Fat Dog are way cleverer than me, and you should always use people like them for traps and stuff. So we got ourselves a Spino trapped inside, and then it was just a case of hanging around here to try and knock it out. As you may have seen, there was already a Carcanos behind us. We did manage to kill that off, but yeah, I just wanted to use a lot of that meat for this, so that's the reason I didn't harvest it. And then once we'd got all sorted out, we were all tamed up. We now have a level 142 Spino. We're going to get it back home, get a saddle made for it, and now finally, I feel like we've got a creature that's going to help us out massively in this environment, and finally, we're the ones that have a bit of bite to us. Then it was a case of getting back to the base and making ourselves a saddle for the Spino. Once that was all crafted, I may as well take it out for a bit of a spin and put some health points into it as well and some melee. So yeah, this girl is already looking pretty fierce. Very happy to have Spino in the team. Now it's time that we do a bit of damage around here. Day 16, I started out a little bit confused. I came across this level 5 Aberrant Megalosaur. It's not the same one that killed Muttley, but I figured I'd try and get a bit of revenge. I just didn't understand why it wasn't attacking me. And then I realised once I attacked it, it would attack back. I'm thinking maybe it's a case of because I'm not on foot or something, that maybe it just doesn't randomly attack dinosaurs. I thought there was a problem, but I guess that's not the case because I've been attacked by these many times, as you will see throughout this playthrough. However, what I thought was now would be a good time to attempt to try and get one of these guys into our team ourselves. And because I've never tried taming one before, I figured I'd set up a trap. Not sure if it's good enough, and I figured I'd start with a level 55, which isn't the highest level, so that hopefully if it goes wrong, that the Spino will be able to take care of it. Now, at this point, I think we've had 5 major mess-ups by me in this playthrough, which I think I'm going to add this one as number 6. Thankfully, I did manage to actually deal with the Megalosaur, but not in the way I'd hoped. I thought it would drop into the trap, it ran straight over it, And yeah, clearly that trap is not big enough. This is why I don't come up with trap designs myself, friends. I'm not clever enough to do it. However, I thought this one might work. I'm thinking if I extend it a little bit further, maybe it will. But unfortunately, it wasn't going to tame this one to the team. But thankfully, the Spino was strong enough to take care of it. And we got a bit of leveling, so, you know, wasn't a complete waste that it could have been. Day 17 was just more exploring and more leveling of the Spino. I'm in this little region here that we've been kind of looking at the last couple of days. Just wanted to check out what it was like. Got a bunch more polymer, took out a few more dinos, and just leveled up the Spino a little more because I'm feeling a bit more confident now that we've got a decent level dino with us. So yeah, just exploring and leveling at day 17. By day 18, we were feeling pretty confident that the Spino could handle pretty much anything that was thrown at it. So I decided to test that out. I came across an Alpha Carcanos, which is the first one of the playthrough and also the first one I've ever dealt with in general, because I've never played this map before this video. And yeah, we figured I could try and take it out. Now I thought that if I could keep it knocked back like I am now, then I would be fine, because as you can see, we're doing a good bit of damage in 288 now because we've been putting a lot of points into melee. And when it hits me, it's doing 144. So I figured I could manage to take this thing down before it took down me. As you can imagine, this was quite a long fight, and if I do want to take on Alpha Rockwell, which is what my original plan was for this video, then I'm going to need artifacts and tributes from these guys in particular, from Alpha creatures. So yeah, once I'd managed to get it into the corner here, I figured it was pretty much game over at this point. I didn't notice the Megalosaur at the time of the fight because I was so focused on the Alpha Carcanos, but thankfully I did manage to take out both. And we managed to get a decent amount of levels just by defeating that. Obviously, this guy was pretty unhappy that we'd just taken out the Alpha, I guess the leader of his tribe, so he figured he'd come over and try and do something about it. Big mistake, buddy. I've just beaten up your dad or whoever it was. You probably shouldn't come over here and try and pick on me right now. But yeah, this was a really good level for us. We got 13 levels for the Spino, which I thought was insane. You see, it hardly did any health damage whatsoever, so I pumped a bunch of health just for going forward and the rest into melee. And then I was looking to see where the artifact was that you get from beating this thing, and I couldn't find it. Turns out it was in my inventory, and I also got 4 levels. By day 19, I was already starting to think about getting an army ready to take on the boss, and I figured Megaloceros would be the best one to do that, doing a bit of research. So I came across this level 15, obviously not high enough, but this is pretty much all I did on day 19, trying to find ourselves a decent level Megaloceros. So I just dealt with this one and cleared them out until I found a better one. Day 20 was another naming day, so meet Ripley, Felicity, Roxanne 2, and you can see Mohr in the background there from the first round of names. After that, it was a quick look at the little loot drop that spawns above near our base here. Got a blueprint for a journeyman climbing pick, that's not too bad, we may need that in the future. After that though, it was back to looking for a Megaloceros. I managed to get this trap built while on the back of the Spino, hence the reason it hasn't kind of tried to attack me yet, which still freaks me out. It makes me think there's something wrong, but I guess that's just their behaviour. And then I shot it from the back of the Spino, and eventually it managed to run into the trap. Now at the moment, I'm also very dehydrated, as you can see, so this became a bit of an issue while taming this girl. Managed to eventually get it knocked out, but then I had to go and run away to try and find some water, because as you can see, I'm really having problems with it, and you keep passing out if you don't drink water, and that's not going to be helpful for when I'm trying to tame this thing. So managed to get away. It's a level 95 that we're taming, which I'm pretty happy with. And then yeah, headed back up and waited for it to tame up. And there we have our first Megalosaurus as part of the tribe. On day 21, we set about our most difficult mission so far, which is to attempt to get some rock drake eggs. So me and Ripley got all of the supplies that we thought we would need and headed out on this journey. Now I knew I wouldn't be able to get it done on day 21, it was going to take me a little while to get through these caves, but I felt like I was well prepared, and yeah, we were essentially ambushed by seekers immediately. This just shows how many dinosaurs there were in this particular cave, but yeah, I felt like we were still ready to go, so we continued our mission. By day 22, we were further into the cave and we were starting to see the rock drakes. So I would take little shots at them with my gun in an attempt to lure them towards me, then jump back onto Ripley and do the rest of the damage. Now Ripley has got quite a lot of health, and I've also been putting a lot into melee, so I think she's pretty powerful at this point, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But the idea of facing a load of them all at once didn't seem like a very smart idea to me, so I continued my way forward, taking shots at them, drawing them to me so that I wouldn't get ambushed by a bunch of them all at once. And this seemed to be a pretty effective method. We were making our way through the cave at a decent pace, and anything that was coming across our way, one-on-one, we were pretty solid it wasn't too big of a deal. As you can see, we're doing 302 damage to that one. It was only doing 39 to us, so it wasn't too bad at all. Finally made our way to where the eggs are and used our climbing picks to get to the actual egg nests. And this was the most difficult part of the entire journey. I fell off quite a few times. Turns out I'm not the best climber, but in the end I did manage to get up to the top there. We've got Ripley down at the bottom waiting for us, and my hope was to get this one egg and then if possible try and get a second one. And when I got to the actual egg itself, I couldn't believe my luck. It was a 175. I am very, very happy with that. I had a quick survey of the area, picked up the egg, and I knew immediately the rock drakes would come flying towards me. I think the rest of this footage kind of speaks for itself. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why I've been trying to fight them one-on-one this entire time. But once I'd cleared them out, I went back up and there was another 175 egg. So I grabbed that one as well to add to our collection. So we now have 2 level 175 eggs. Just got to make my way back down to Ripley, who's just at the bottom here. As you can see, we're very heavy, but I can put a bunch of stuff in their inventory, so we should be okay. And now we've just got to try and get out of this place. But thankfully, most of the rock drakes have been cleared out at this point. I think it's been a very successful mission. Ripley's health took a hell of a beating during that fight, so we'll get her back up to full level. But other than that, very successful mission. Very happy with how this went. Day 23, I made as many air conditioners as I possibly could. I was going to need them all so I could try and hatch these rock drake eggs. The only problem I had though, as soon as I put the 6 down that I had, immediately it said the egg was still too hot and there was not much I could really do to help that out. So I'm going to have to come up with another strategy. For now though, I will just keep getting as many air conditioners as I can, and hopefully eventually I have enough to actually hatch the egg. On day 24, I decided to take another strategy in trying to hatch the rock drake eggs. I did a bit of research online and I found out that Dimetrodons were really good for controlling the temperature, and I know there's an area where there is a load of Dimetrodons, so I decided to go and try and tame them. Never had them before, never really used them at all, so I figured this would be another dinosaur to add to our collection. So yeah, spent the rest of day 24 just taming as many Dimetrodons as I could find, and eventually bringing these back so that we can get them set up in a little area to try and hatch the eggs, and that was pretty much the plan. So there was the first one tamed. After a while, they do take a while to tame because their torpor goes down really quickly, so I did have to bring a lot of narcotics with me, but this actually was part of the reason I'd made a bunch of narcotics in the first place, so because I knew these guys would come in very handy. And you can see we've got 2 of them on the go at the same time. I was starting to get pretty good at this, and as you can see, they're not the fastest in the world, so you're no need for a trap this time. You just kind of circle them and then add them to the team to hopefully help hatch these rock drake eggs. This continued into day 25. I figured I would need quite a few of these guys, and it doesn't hurt to have too many, I suppose. So yeah, kept turning Dimetrodons into day 25. Day 26, we spent a bit of time in the dark trying to spawn some nameless, and then once we've got a few spawned, I'd turn the light back on to cut off the spawns, and then use Maeve, who is our Megaloceros, if that's how I'm pronouncing that correctly, to actually kill them, and then get the nameless venom from the bags that they would drop, because I would need these for the rock drakes. After that, I'd head back to the base and I'd take out the eggs from the fridge, and I'd made a little hut where I'd put all the Dimetrodons in, and this is where I was going to be hatching the eggs. And hopefully, now that I've got all of these Dimetrodons, as you can see there's quite a lot in here, hopefully we'll be able to put down the eggs and they will actually control the temperature correctly and regulate it so that we can go ahead and hatch the eggs. Let's see how it works out. 2 eggs are down. Still didn't work, but that one is working, so we just need a better spot for it. Okay. This is going to be the rest of the day then. Guess I'm waiting here for these eggs to hatch. And on day 27, it was time for the rock drakes to hatch. Now, this first one that came out obviously is a 175. We already knew that from the egg, but it looked like it had some good colours on it. If I can actually get around to see it, I was pretty happy with it, so I could get around to imprint. Then it was just a case of getting it outside because there's no way I can take care of it in here. And then the second one hatched as well. Again, it looks very similar to the first one, but I'm very happy with that, and it didn't realise at the time but you may have noticed something that I missed at the time. Once I got them all outside, I had 4. I got 2 sets of twins. I was so happy. By day 28, it was time to imprint the rock drakes. The first one here just wanted a cuddle, so that was perfect. Imprint 100%. You may be curious about the imprinting settings. When you play on single player like I do, they do generally just need 1 imprint. I only recently found that out myself. Second one wants a cuddle as well, which I figured would be the same because it's probably the twin of the other one. By the time we got to the third one, guess what? This one wanted a cuddle. Very happy to do that. These is like the easiest imprints that I think that I've ever done. Usually they all want some sort of crazy food that I don't have access to. And number 4, cuddle. Perfect. 4 cuddles for rock drakes. Love it. On day 29, it was finally time to make a chemistry bench. Now, I was going to be needing a lot of materials, and the chemistry bench obviously creates them a lot faster and a lot more efficiently than the mortar and pestle does. So I figured it was time to put a bit of materials into crafting the chemistry bench because it would be beneficial going forward. I then placed a ladder down so I could place it absolutely perfectly straight. This is something I picked up from a video a while back, and yeah, that really helped. So now that's all set up, we've got ourselves a chemistry bench. By the time day 30 had rolled around, I was ready to make my first rock drake saddle. I then went outside so that I could keep an eye on them because I knew they were going to be close to maturation so that I could actually go and fly one. As you can see, they're still adolescent at the moment, but I know they weren't far off being 100% complete. So I hung around a little while, and then eventually I was able to fly one. Now, these things took me a little while to figure out how to fly. I'd never flown one ever before, never mind just in this playthrough. I'd never even ridden a rock drake before. So the first few moments were a bit wobbly. We didn't do our best in terms of flying. We kind of flopped around a little bit, but eventually I would get the hang of it and I would grow to love these things. Day 30 is also a naming day. You may see no one has a name as of yet. I think there's certain points during the playthrough that I just forgot to do that, which I apologise for. You may see names pop up on dinosaurs every now and again. Just so you know, when it comes to the rock drakes, I was watching House of the Dragon at the time of recording this. Yes, this is how long ago I recorded this video. Again, I apologise it took so long to get it out. But yeah, I named them all after the dragons from House of the Dragon, and I took this one out and did some leveling. It was a lot of fun to fly, and I'm really glad we have them. Day 31, I built myself a greenhouse. We just attached it to the side of the base here by just extending a few foundations out and then attaching it directly to the side. I put a few pillars on. I'm not great at building, but I've learned from the videos that I've made, if you put pillars on the end and stuff, it does give the building a bit more depth. I then used the ladder to place down some plots so we could harvest all of the plants that we need. On day 32, with the help of our rock drake, we took Felicity, our ankylosaurus, up to a spot where there was a good amount of metal and then used her to harvest all of the metal we carry. The rock drake has really good carrying weight from what I've seen, so I can carry quite a decent amount. And then once we've got all the materials, we can just put that ankylosaurus back in a cryopod. This was way quicker than running backwards and forwards over the road. So yeah, I was very happy to be able to do this and get a load of metal at the same time. Day 33 starts out by getting an explorer note, but the main reason I was here was for the loot drop that was over the side here, and once I opened it up I was very happy with what was inside, an Ascendant Ravager saddle, so that's going to come in very handy going forward. I then spent a bit of time on the rock drake just flying around and checking out the different drops. This one had a Mastercraft Peresus saddle blueprint in it. Probably won't use that, but it's still pretty cool to have. And then this third and final one, once we've got this one opened up, also had another saddle in it for a Diplodocus, which again I probably won't use, but I'm not going to turn it down. Day 34, and we're back to messing up again. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's another one of Jade's famous getting things wrong in ARK moments, and this one is a big one. I came across a beehive. I saw a video about how to get it because I wanted to make my own, and I know you need the queen bee for that. And I guess you were supposed to kind of grab some honey to anger the bees first. I didn't do that. Instead, I just started shooting at it, and then I was trapped inside this box with no honey and just a big old mess. Day 35, we went out to try and get some more Megalosaurus, and this one came up as level 100. Figured that would be a really good one to add to the team because I want to start breeding these guys soon. And it started off pretty well. I managed to get a shot on it and then run back to the rock drake so that I could lure it to the little trap that I had around the corner. The only problem was this one didn't seem as keen to join the team as I would have liked them to be, because it kept getting caught in all different spaces, and it took a little while to get here. So as you can see, it's ran over to follow me, then got distracted by something else. It starts trying to kill something, and then it just gets a little bit stuck. So eventually I managed to actually get it to run in front of the trap, but it still doesn't seem to want to be interested, so I managed to shoot it again, and then just as it managed to turn around, I tried to lure it back to the trap. So it took a little longer than I wanted it to, but we do eventually get this one into the trap, even if I almost got a little bit stuck there myself. But finally this one is in our trap. Now it's just a case of knocking it out. As you can see, this trap's a lot bigger than the ones I've used previously because of the mistakes I've been making. They're trying to run in and get me and then end up jumping out. I figured I'd go back to a trap which I know works for most things. And yeah, eventually managed to knock this one out. Then we start to hang around and wait for it to tame up. But now we have a second Megalosaurus into our team. Day 36 was an interesting one because it was time to start preparing to build myself a giant base. We all know I like a big base in these playthroughs, and today it was the start of it. So I was trying to tame a roll rat. It took a little while to figure out how to do it, but the idea is you throw down some honey and eventually it will jump up and get it from you as it pops back up. So it took a little while to figure it out. To see the one on the floor there I threw was a bit of a waste. Unfortunately, I can't do much about that. It's just kind of done now. But eventually, once this one started to burrow, the trick is to throw it down then, and then when it comes back up, it eats it. And as you can see, it worked pretty well. We now have a roll rat in the team because I believe these guys are really good wood gatherers, and that's what I'm going to need for the giant base that I want to build. After that, it was a quick stop at the nearby drop. This one gave us an ascendant shotgun. Not going to complain. It's not the type of shotgun that I prefer to use, but you know what? For an ascendant shotgun for completely free, I will take it. After that, we made ourselves a saddle for the roll rat. And after again, similar stuttering start with the rock drake. As you can see, his name's Cyrax. As I mentioned, I named them after House of the Dragon characters. I tried to get this going to make some wood, and it was a bit of a false start. I was trying to roll into the tree. Not my best moment, but eventually I do figure it out, and we start to gather some wood. As you can see, I'm not the greatest ARK player of all time, guys. I think it's fairly obvious at this point, but I'm not doing too bad. And you can see this one gathers quite a lot of wood, so eventually I will figure out how to roll it properly. But just from the little bit of wood that we got here, that's already going to be a great start to me building my base, which is something I'm going to be doing soon. And there you go, told you eventually I'd figure out how to roll it. Just takes me time. Day 37 was an interesting one. It was 10% day and 90% night, which if you're new to the game like me, means that the nighttime is a lot longer and you can head up to the surface in this cave to try and actually get some drops, which is what the plan is to do. But as you can see, I spent the day building our new dino storage unit. This thing, as you can see from the foundations, is absolutely massive. It's going to take me a few days to build. I'm once again following an Aaron Longstaff tutorial. In case you haven't figured that out by now, I'm pretty much Aaron Longstaff stan at this point. Be curious to know if you've built any of his own builds yourself, and yeah, hopefully if you have, you really enjoyed them. But this is the part of the game that I really started to enjoy. You head up to the surface and get some pretty cool drops. As you can see, a centered long neck rifle and a raptor saddle, so they're pretty awesome. And then I spent the rest of the night running around to gather some drops. Here's some of the best stuff that we got. The next few days was spent finishing off the build, so how about we just sit back and watch some building montage footage. I don't really do montage stuff very often, so yeah, hopefully enjoy this next few days of me just finishing off the build for this particular massive base, which I think by the time it's done is going to look fantastic. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments, and also if you've built any huge bases, let me know because I'd love to check that out. On day 40, the build was complete. Let's head on inside so you can have a good look around just to see what it is like. You can see this massive courtyard area. This is where a lot of the dinos are going to be. On the inside here, we've got a caged off area that's got some air conditioners which you're going to be able to use. And we've got this generator off to the side. We're eventually going to be able to put some other things in here, but for now, I think this looks pretty awesome. And over the spot over here, I eventually want to get a cryo fridge, but we'll work on that a bit later because we're not in a position to get one of those as of yet. But yeah, this place looks absolutely fantastic. Another incredible build by Aaron, and yeah, another incredible tutorial for me to follow. But as always, day 40 is naming day. This guy is named Charlie, and then we started moving a few of the guys into their base for where they're going to be living going forward, and this one got stuck in the floor. Day 41, and we're starting to actually be a little bit competent from time to time. I'm after this level 115 Ravager, so I decided to boil them both, take care of the lower level one before attempting to trank the level 115. Now, Obviously, a lot of the times I use traps. This time, as I say, I was feeling a bit confident, so I figured I'd just let it run around, and my baller skills were getting a little bit better when it came to actually taming this guy up. It did escape a couple of times, but like I say, a level 115 Ravager, we've just got that Ascendant saddle from a loot drop recently, so I figured it was about time we had a decent Ravager back at the base, because sooner or later I'm going to start going into the caves, and I figured a Ravager would be a good thing to take with me. So we sat here and waited for it to tame up. It's now level 172, and we've got this Ascendant saddle on it. That gives us a decent level for that. So yeah, very happy with how day 41 went. And we wasted no time and decided to do our very first cave the next day. So day 42, it's our first cave. I believe there's 3 that we need to go through to get all of the artifacts. So yeah, sit back and enjoy how the cave went. Day 43, we're back at base. This time we're starting to breed our army. So we got our first Megalosaurus egg into the area where we've got set up for breeding, which is where all the air conditioning units are. I also moved the Dimetrodons into here as well to help control the temperature of the room. And yeah, there's our very first aberrant Megalosaurus baby. So these things take about an hour and 20 to imprint. So I had a few other jobs to do hanging around the base, so I figured I may as well get some work done. But yeah, this is our very first baby. It is a male. Ideally, I want a few more females. I never know if the stats of these things are any good, but I thought the army looked pretty decent. We then spent a bit of time on day 44, as I say, doing some odd jobs around the base, getting some medical brews, and waiting for the very first imprint of our aberrant Megalosaurus, which in this case wanted some simple kibble. Now, I knew I had the ingredients to make simple kibble, I just never have these things on hand. I probably should start making these before we get into this sort of stuff. But I went and got all the things we needed from the fridge, got the simple kibble on the go, and it was just a case of obviously feeding it to the Megalosaurus, and then once this one's tamed up fully, we'll be able to add it to our army. So yeah, once it's 100%, we're very happy to have this guy in the team. So not a bad first start. Let's see what the stats are like. Again, never know if this is any good, but looks alright to me. We are back to taming on day 45, and this Megalosaurus just did not want to get into the trap. We also had this bit of a hairy moment here where it started to run towards me. Thankfully, Cyrax was nearby so we could get away and escape almost certain death at that point, because I think I would have absolutely been destroyed by that thing, and then it just went back to attacking my trap. I'm never sure why they do that, but as long as it's going to stand there, then I guess I can keep shooting it, and I've got Cyrax here watching my back just in case things go south. But it didn't go in the trap, it just stood there, and it let me knock it out eventually. So yeah, this is how we got our next Megalosaurus. And yeah, we basically gathered all of the prime meat from Cyrax because I killed a lot of stuff on the way here, chucked it all in, and then hung around for the rest of the day. It's another female, I believe it was level 40, it's not the highest, but I've got some decent male ones back at base. I just need the eggs, to be honest, so I'm not really too concerned about their levels at this moment in time. We'll worry about that a little bit later. And then we just hung around and waited for it to tame. 46, we're back at the base, incubating another egg. This one's about to be born from a level 147 male and a 59 female, giving us a level 140 baby. Again, I never really know what to look for in the stats. So I think because I'm playing single player, it's hard to tell what's good and what's not, because most things in my experience seem to be okay. So that one I feel I was pretty happy with. We went and spotted another level 55. Again, you're able to build the traps on the back of your rock drake because they don't seem to be interested. So I wanted to get the trap built, step up on the stairs, and then take a few steps, knowing that I can run out to the back. So that was the plan. Made sure they lined up the shot, and then get its attention, and it starts running. And the plan for me is to just run out the back and hopefully not get killed. And finally, for once, I actually did it properly. So yeah, that was pretty decent. But then just spend a bit of time standing here waiting for it to be knocked out. Again, not the highest level in the world, but at this point I just want to try and get an army going because it's already pretty much halfway through the video. You can never tell how long these things are going to take to tame. So yeah, I just wanted to be prepared for when we do eventually go to fight Rockwell. So yeah, day 46 was pretty productive. Got a lot of stuff done back at the base, and obviously headed out to get another tame onto our team here. Day 47, and we were back to a decent bit of time on the night, so I went out to try and get some more drops, and this is the best of what happened. After that, it was time to imprint our next Megalosaurus. This one wanted to go for a walk. Another pretty easy one. I don't mind when it's just something simple like this. Sometimes they ask for some really ridiculous stuff. And I'm not sure if you can still do this trick, but you used to be able to put them in a cryopod and take them back out and they'd ask for something else. Not sure if that still works at this point, but thankfully, while they're just asking for a walk, that's easy enough to do. I haven't really got much room to walk in here, so it may be an idea to start taking them outside for when they're about to hatch, because this area is pretty safe, to be honest, and I think that's ultimately what we end up doing, is taking for a bit of a walk outside, and then we get that imprint once again. Day 48, we're back to breeding, and we've got a few eggs on the go at the same time here, so I want to try and get an army going. May have given us this first egg, and then the idea is I've got a few going, so try and get them breeding at the same time. Got 3 all ready to hatch around about the same time here, so I was pretty happy with that. And our army is really starting to grow. This is by day 49. We've got a few of them ready to go here. So we're almost halfway through the video, and I'm very happy with the progress we've made so far. The army is getting ready to go. We've already got 1 artifact, got 2 more to go. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the progress we made. The rest of the day though, I had seen a Carcanos that I wanted to tame, and once again I was following a tutorial from Captain Fat Dog on how to go about setting up a trap for it to use the cannon thing that you fire the rocks at it. I don't think that's the right word, I think it's a catapult. Either way, this was easy to build, but I had a nightmare trying to get the Carcanos in there. It took me quite a few attempts. At one point I was struggling to just get the cannon lined up correctly, and then I was running out of boulders, so at one point I was kind of running backwards and forwards trying to get stuff done. But ultimately we managed to get this thing into the trap, albeit with a little bit of resistance from the Carcanos to begin with. But I've never had one of these in any playthrough before. I think this is the first time I've really came across them, and I really wanted to try and get one, because usually when I'm on a playthrough like this, like in the Scorched Earth one, we tried to get ourselves one of those giant boulder thingies. I forget what they're called now off the top of my head, you'll know what I mean. And I just try and get things that are exclusive to that map. I don't think this is exclusive to this map, but I've never had one before. So yeah, managed to eventually get it into the trap, but once we're in there, we'll try and fire some cannonballs. And yeah, it took me a little while, but eventually we did manage to actually get some shots off on this thing. After that, I wasn't really sure what it ate, so I tried with a few different things. Eventually I read up online that I think it takes rotten meat. I've got plenty of that back at base, so I may have to quick run back to base to actually get some. But yeah, this was a big day for me, because I really wanted to get one of these things pretty much from day one, and we're finally at a point where I had the stuff to get it. And it's a level 145 male, the second highest dino we've managed to get in this playthrough. So yeah, very, very happy, and we now have a Carcanos. Back to day 50 though, it's time to get some more imprints, and a few of these guys have names. You may have noticed there's some names in the background there. Those were for the Dimorphodons. I basically looked up some nurses and came across some names, and those are the ones I put because they were essentially nannies for me. And then I've got Ed, and Eddie here all ready to go for their first walks to get their imprints. Just doing some more odds and ends around the base on day 51, not really a whole lot to show you. This is pretty much the highlight of the day. I finally put the artifact on a pedestal in the base and I thought it looked pretty cool. Day 52 though, I was out to try and get myself a baryonyx. There is a cave that I want to go through pretty soon, and I was doing some research and said that a baryonyx would be a good dinosaur to take through largely for the underwater areas. And as per usual, things didn't go according to plan. At this point I was thinking, okay, well, he seems to be stuck under the stairs. Turns out he's not stuck under the stairs. Now I'm the one in the trap and he's trying to kill me while I'm inside it. Eventually managed to escape and he's just started attacking the trap again. They seem to do this quite a lot. I don't know if this is just a mechanic of the dinos in the game, but I'm noticing it more in this playthrough than any others that I've done before. Eventually it went into the water and we were able to knock it out. Thankfully I figured it would be fine underwater, seeing as though they do tend to spend a bit of time under there. Then we got it tamed up and there's our baryonyx to the team. Level 159. If I thought the trap on day 52 was terrible, just wait till you see what happens on this one. Day 53 I came across a female level 135 Megalosaurus, the highest one that I've seen for a long time, if not the highest one I've seen in the playthrough. Managed to shoot it, to lure it into the trap. It then managed to get a hold of me. I whistled off Cyrax so that it wouldn't attack, and then I just seemed to be stuck inside of it. I couldn't shoot it, I couldn't really do anything, I was just kind of stuck here for a little while. I was trying to move, it wasn't attacking me, my health wasn't going down, and I did manage to eventually get a few shots off on it. But yeah, I was kind of stuck here for a little while. I was thinking there's a big glitch here, am I going to have to kind of log out the game and log back in? But then if I did that, I was worried that I was going to somehow get killed. Eventually it does manage to kind of run away, but then I'm kind of still stuck in the corner a little bit here, I still can't move. And yeah, we just kind of get a few shots in it while I can. I figured if I can't move, if it's out the way, at least get some shots in and try and knock it out. Eventually, I kind of unglitched from the corner, I suppose, and managed to get out of the trap. But I guess technically the trap worked. I just didn't want to be inside with it, and yeah, that could have ended really badly. But thankfully, eventually, we were able to knock it out, and then we've got a level 135 female to add to the squad. So yeah, quite an interesting day. So after the excitement of the last few days, I figured I'd head back to base and do a bit more breeding with the Megalosaurus. This time I managed to get 4 eggs to kind of hatch all at once, so we can kind of get the imprinting done all at once. I'm trying to time things so it gives me a little bit more time to actually get stuff done all in one go, so I don't have to keep coming back to the base every 20 minutes or so. So that was how we did it on 54. 55, it was time to get a few more cryopods because we needed a load of those for eventually moving these guys, and we also decided to finally get that cryo fridge, which I talked about a while back, to get put at the base so we can keep all of these cryopods nice and fresh. So yeah, it's been a pretty productive day. We again used the ladder trick to get it put down so it could go perfectly straight, and there's the little spot that I showed you earlier of where that was going to go. We could eventually put something else there if we want, but for now I'm pretty happy that it's there. Turn this generator on and then we are good to go. Day 56, it is time to imprint our latest round of Megalosaurus. The first one wants to go onto a walk, so again that's relatively straightforward. I mentioned earlier on I wasn't sure if you could still do the cryopod trick to change it from whatever thing that it was wanting to something else, and the reason I was questioning that is about to be tested in a moment, because this one wanted a cuddle, the next one wanted to eat some fish, but the one after that wanted something that I don't have, which is exceptional kibble. So I decided to try and test it out, see if I can put it into the cryopod, and then we'll take it outside and see if we can still actually do this. Now bearing in mind, this video was actually recorded back in October. It's been a little while since it was recorded, so I don't know if this is still a thing or not, but at the time I gave it a test and now it wants tinterberries. So yeah, worked out pretty well for me. Not sure if it still works, but as of recording in October, that trick still works. I was very happy about that. By day 57, we were back to 90% nights, and this was the case for the next 3 nights, so why not sit back and enjoy the highlights of what we got from the drops. And by day 60, we were ready to take on our next cave. This time I've brought with me quite a few different dinos. We're going to start by going down with Cyrax because I figured if we went down invisible, most of the creatures would leave us alone. This cave wasn't going to be completed in one day. I figured it was going to be a bit tougher than the others, so I'll just let you watch how we got on. It was quite the challenging cave. There were certain areas where we had to switch out different dinos and try and take on different tactics, but ultimately I thought it was a very successful trip. After the adventures of 60 and 61, it was back to doing some good old-fashioned grinding because I need to start getting some bullets made ready for when we do eventually take on Rockwell on day 100. So, spent 62 gathering as much metal as I could ready for the forges. 63, I took the roller out to get a bunch of wood as well so we can keep them forges running, get that turned into charcoal, and then we can obviously get that turned into gunpowder. And 64, I spent a bit of time making some medical brews as well because I figured we'd need a bunch of those for when we do come to the fight. And we also then made as many bullets as we possibly could. I decided to make a bunch of advanced rifle bullets for the Ascendant assault rifle that we got through one of the drops. Not the best gun in the world, I'm not usually a fan of the assault rifle. I've learned that from previous playthroughs, especially on the island. I thought it was fine, but there's plenty of other guns out there that are better. But it's by far the best gun I've got at the moment, so I figured I may as well get as many bullets for it as we can, because it's always going to come in handy for that big boss fight. On day 65 though, we headed back out to try and get ourselves another high level Spino. I figured I'd breed a high level one with Ripley and try and get an imprinted one to take with me for any future fights. And I set up a trap similar to, well, exactly the same as the one that I made for the previous one. Figured I could just get this one in straightforward like I did with the last one. After I'd spent a bit of time randomly attacking Cyrax, who was on passive obviously because I didn't want it to get involved and absolutely wreck this thing, I tried to lead it back to the trap, and it seems to be a bit of a theme with me at the moment. These things just do not want to go in the traps. They would much rather just run around and try and fight me on foot. And in the end I ended up having to chase it a little while, just ignored the trap completely, but because it was running I knew it wouldn't be too much longer until I could take it down, and eventually as it ran into the corner I did manage to take it down. Then it was just a case of feeding it and waiting for it to tame up. But yeah, these things just do not want to go in trap speed at the moment. Day 66, and it was time to hatch our brand new baby Spino. As you can see, the Dimetrodons are watching over it carefully, and we've got our brand new baby Spino from the one we just tamed and from Ripley. So this is going to be the plan. I'm going to take a bit of time around the base, get some more metal on the go, and by day 67 it was time to imprint the latest addition to the squad. So very happy with how this went. I've been spending a lot of time, as you saw, with the forges on there, just getting as much metal going as possible, and now we have our Spino tamed up to 100% imprint. The rest of the knights though were backed as 90% knights, so this is going to be what it was like for the next few days. Here's a compilation of all of the greatest drops that we got over the next few nights. Day 71, and it was time to start leveling up the Megalosaurus. Now, I've done this method on quite a few different times when I'm playing ARK. It mostly started when I figured out how to do it on the island playthrough. You go and find a nearby explorer note and then just destroy anything in its path. I figured you just had to kill a bunch of creatures. Turns out just destroying trees and things like this will also get you levels. So this has been the fastest way for me to actually level up the dinos. So I've been doing this for quite a while, basically take it somewhere like this where there's a bunch of trees, and in the short period of time that we're here just destroying all of these trees, you do actually end up getting quite a few levels. Obviously any dinos that come across our way, we do kill them as well, but ultimately my idea is I go and find an explorer note, I run the time down until it goes all the way down to 0 with whichever mount that I'm on, get them as many levels as possible, and it seems to be a pretty decent strategy. And just from that quick period of time there, we got 2 levels, so as you can see, it is very, very effective. This continued over into day 72, just went and got another Megalosaurus, went found another Explorer note. I do tend to look them up on a map using the wiki just to find out where they are, because it makes life a little simpler for me. But there is occasionally ones I just run across, and if I usually have one of these guys in my pocket, I tend to pop it out and try and do a bit of leveling while I'm here. After that, it's back to the base to start crafting some more gunpowder, ready for more bullets and things to be made, and then heading on over to get some more bullets made for the shotgun. Now that we found a decent shotgun, I would like to try and get a bunch of shotgun ammo ready to go for the boss fights as well. Day 74, this pretty much continued into turning a bunch more into spark powder ready for ammunition. And then yeah, that's pretty much what we did the next few days, just trying to get as many things ready as we can after taking out the Anki to get as much flint and things like that. So yeah, it's been a decent trip the last couple of days. I've been on a really good grinding mission, just trying to get everything ready to go, ready for the boss fight, which is rapidly approaching us. We're already on day 74, we're 3/4 of the way through the challenge already. So day 75, it's back out to get as much metal as we possibly can. And yeah, this is essentially what this week was for, was to try and get as much grinding done as possible so that we can have a bit more time towards the end to level up the dinos, just to get them ready for that actual boss fight. So yeah, good place to take the Anki here, with we fly down with Cyrax, take it out of the cryopod, get as much metal as we can carry, rinse and repeat. Day 76 was a very important day for us. We decided to make some mind wipe tonics. Now, if you saw my playthrough of the 100 Days Scorched Earth, you'll see that I got this horribly wrong, because I figured you could just put all of your points into crafting and it would make all of the gear, whatever you made, a lot stronger. I didn't realize it had to be a blueprint that you found, and those are the ones that would be a lot better. So the big things you learn, I guess, when you're doing these challenges. But I figured today was as good a day as any to turn some of these blueprints that we found into the better equipment that we can make. So as you can see there, with Mind Wipe, we got the 99 points. We put every single one into crafting skill. These are the blueprints which I found, which I thought were already really good to begin with. So it was a 930 level armor for the chest plate, which turned into 1058. We then obviously did the boots, which were originally, I believe, 719, which turned into 853. And then we went ahead and did the kite and helmet, which was 463 into 655. So I was very happy with how that worked out. We'll probably do this a bit later on as well, but I'm over the moon with that. I think they're going to come in very handy for the boss fight. It's probably the best armor I've ever had the entire time that I've ever played this game. And then of course set the mind wipe again so we could reset our points and get back to the levels that we would like to be, ready to go forward. By day 77 we were back to 90% night, so of course I had to take advantage of this and head back up the surface and get as many drops as I possibly could. So this is what we did for the next few days. At this point I don't know if this is repetitive or not, and you've seen quite a few of these already, but this is just showing you what I was doing. I think it's pretty cool to go and drop hunting myself, so hopefully you enjoy it too. This is the highlights of what we got over the next few days. By day 80, we were back to regular length days, so I decided to take out our new Spino, whose name is Riptide, by the way, to do a bit of leveling. You may have noticed I normally name the dinos every 10 days, so I don't get attached if they die. And yeah, unfortunately, there's been a few that we've kind of missed the naming day of, mostly because I'm out doing drop hunting and things like that. You may see names of dinos in the background that I might not have called out, so apologies for that. But yeah, this Riptide is the latest Spino that we added to the team. This is going to be the one that I want to take with me when we go to do the boss fight, because I figured I would send Riptide in with the Megalosaurus to do some damage. So may as well get as much leveling done as I can. So yeah, welcome to the team, Riptide. You're doing pretty well so far. Glad to have you on board. We spent the next 10 days leveling up the rest of the dinos that we have got by doing the same methods that we've been doing this entire time. If we can find an explorer note, we will grab it, we will go and get as many levels as we can. Sometimes we just level based on what dinos we run across, but it was time to get this Megalosaurus army ready to fight Rockwell, so that's what we did for the next 9 days. So sit back and enjoy a bunch of carnage, courtesy of my Megalosaurus army. By the time day 90 rolled around, we were ready for our third and final artifact cave. This one I figured would probably be the easiest of the lot, so I've left it for now, because it's as simple as just running in with a rock drake, using your invisibility mode that the rock drake has, and then you can essentially fly past most of the threats. Or at least that's what the video that I watched online told me, so I guess we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, this was a very fun cave to run through. As I say, the rock drake with its invisibility mode really helps out big time in these particular areas. So yeah, day 90 was getting our third and final artifact. Really enjoyed this cave, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it too. Day 91, and we are back to leveling up our creatures. This time we're out with Ollie, and as you can see, he's already doing quite a lot of damage, so this one is doing really well. I'm just going to continue this for the next few days. This time, unfortunately, I didn't realise I didn't name this one, so I guess we'll make up a name on the spot. This one can be Timmy. There you go. Sorry, Timmy, you didn't get a name. I'll try and correct that later. And then day 93, we're essentially out doing the same thing. This one, we're out with Tina. I went back to where we started out because I figured there was to be a good spot to get some Paris's and things like that. Plus, I just wanted to kind of explore the map a bit more and go back to places we'd revisited just to see what it was like. And yeah, you can see early days we would not have survived here. Now it's just so simple for us. It shows the progression that we've made throughout the video. On day 94, I made myself a Spino saddle and as many Megalosaurus saddles as I possibly could, ready to kit out the army for the boss fight. We've got a bunch of stuff ready to go for the boss fight. This will be the best gear that we've got here. Unfortunately, I never did come across any more alpha creatures to try and take on the alpha version of Rockwell. But since I've never fought Rockwell before, I figured I may as well just go for the only one that I can. So yeah, basically after this point, we were just trying to get the saddles on the best dinos. And yeah, make sure that everyone had one. You may have seen from the drops that we did get an Ascendant version of the Megalosaurus saddle. I gave that one to Maeve. She's been the one we've had since day one. So yeah, she's mostly the mother of most of the dinos here anyway. We then spent a bit of time just gathering a few more supplies ready to go for the final boss fight, which is rapidly approaching. And yeah, just went ahead and got some berries so we could get some stimulants made and just make sure that by the time the boss fight comes around, we're ready to roll. I'm feeling pretty confident with everything that we've got so far, so assuming nothing goes wrong, we should be good to go. But we've also got some 90% knights here, so why not go and get a few more drops just to see if we get anything interesting ready for the final boss fight. On day 99, it was time to go through our gear to make sure we had everything we needed ready to fight Rockwell. Now, you may have seen, I believe it was day 97, we came across an Ascendant saddle for our Rock Drake, which I was very, very happy about. We also came across a blueprint for an Ascendant Baryonic saddle. Unfortunately, the materials it needed to make was far too much, and I don't think I'm going to be needing that for the boss fight anyway. So I just made sure I had everything that I absolutely needed for the boss fight. I've got all the dinos ready, and we're going to start making our way down to the Rockwell stage where you fight him. And that's pretty much what we did. We got all of the stuff that we needed for the fight. We've got all of our medical brews, got all of the food that I figured I'd need between now and then. Made sure I had enough armor and equipment, picked up all of the artifacts, which I've made that mistake before of going to the arena and not having all the artifacts, so thankfully I was smart enough to gather those today. So yeah, day 99 was just final preparations, ready to take on Rockwell on day 100, and we decided to start making our descent so that we can get all of the Megalosaurs lined up ready to go on the platform, because obviously they have the cryo sickness and all that sort of stuff when you throw them all out, so it just made more sense to go down today. And yeah, I can't believe we're finally getting to the point where we're about to fight Rockwell. This map has been very challenging for a number of reasons. We'll get into it more at the end of the video as to my thoughts on the whole process. But yeah, it's been quite the journey. So by the time we made it here, there was a few rock drakes obviously we had to deal with, but by this point Cyrax was ready to go. I must point out, this was pretty much the only rock drake that I used in the entire playthrough. The other three you may have seen in the backgrounds of shots every now and again. Just kind of sat up on a hill there. So yeah, it was pretty cool at the time to get 4, but ultimately I never really used them. I just used the one, and this one was pretty good, and I'm glad to have it. But yeah, it took me a little while to figure out how to fly them, but overall I'm pretty ready to go. So here we are, day 100, putting all the artifacts in, ready to spawn the boss. This was quite the challenge. You'll see exactly how it goes down right now, but if you made it this far in the video, I do really appreciate you being here, and yeah, enjoy this boss fight with Rockwell. So unfortunately we were not able to defeat Rockwell, and this is the first challenge that we have failed. We did make it to day 100, which I'm pretty proud of, but yeah, ultimately it didn't end the way I'd hoped. If I'm being honest, this wasn't my favourite map to play out of the three, but I am glad we experienced it, and I'm so grateful for you sticking around the channel. Apologies for the delay in the content. As I mentioned, we've had a lot going on in the last few months. I moved house a couple of times. I never really had a space to sit down and record, and videos have just generally took a little longer than I had hoped. On the good news though, I have got other videos ready to go, and there'll be another video coming very soon. We are going to be exploring different games. You're going to be seeing some of those games on the screen right now. And the next one that we've got ready to go is going to be surviving 100 days in the long dark. So if that sounds something like you'd be interested in, then please make sure to like the video and subscribe. If you haven't done already, leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of the video, and I will catch you very soon in the next one. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. My name has been Jay, and I will see you later.
Oh crap, okay. Red start. Tough spot immediately, great. Please leave me alone in here. I don't know if you will or not. Okay, I see you. Try and get me in here? Shit, there's two of you.